Do you mind if I watch you?
Be my guest.
Say, do you think there's anything you can do with these patterns?
What do you need?
Is there any way you can reconstruct the whole pattern from these partials?
Pattern is probably circular, and there's some repetition in the elements. What is this from, anyway?
You'd never believe me.
Okie dokie. Well, there's... I think there's an area missing. If you could get me any more of these...
I'll see what I can do.
What would the artist do?
I have another one of those patterns.
Really? Let's see. Yeah, this is great. I think there's enough overlap now. I'll give it my best shot. I'll show you what I come up with tomorrow.
Great. I appreciate it.
The marks are reddish in color and reminds Gabriel of crossing. They look like they've been here a few days at least.
I want a copy of these strange marks.
This is the tomb of Marie Laveau, voodoo queen of New Orleans. Odd-looking marks adorn the Laveau tomb wall. This is the tomb. The tomb is securely closed. Near the Laveau tomb is a piece of red brick. Undoubtedly a cast-off from spiritual graffiti writers.
Welcome, my friend.
Hello?
I am the proprietor, Dr. Giorno. If you have any questions, I will be happy to assist.
Great.
Dr. John is a huge man. If his manner weren't so pleasant, he'd be intimidating. A street drummer has set outside the museum. The back wall displays various voodoo items, such as an artist's rendering of the voodoo dances in Congo Square in the early 1800s.
Could I ask you some questions?
That is why I am here.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Historical voodoo, or the voodoo currently practiced in the city?
Tell me about historical voodoo.
Very well. I will start at the beginning, Mr. Knight, and will go on from there at your property.
Sounds good.
As you may know, Voodoo is a grassroots religion formed by the mixing together of many different African tribal religions and Anglo religions, such as Catholicism or Protestantism. In other words, it is a religion born of the African slave trade, but African slaves were imported not only by the United States, but also into the West Indies where the French and Spanish ran plantation islands. Prior to 1803, the New Orleans area was owned by France. The French Creole in those days owned many African slaves. But the Creole did not permit their slaves to gather, giving no chance for voodoo to breed here natively.
The Creole also knew enough about the corrupted pagan practices of the West Indies slaves to ban the importing of slaves from that region. So, how did voodoo come to New Orleans?
After the Louisiana Purchase, American legislators relaxed regulations. Slaves were permitted to gather. The Americans also removed the ban on West Indies slaves.
Around the same time, a slave revolt occurred in Santo Domingo, what is now Haiti. Between the lifting of the ban and the Haitian revolt, West Indies slaves began pouring into New Orleans.
Some of them were free people of color, freed or escaped slaves. Some came with their white owners who were fleeing from the revolt.
What happened when the West Indies slaves got here?
They brought voodoo with them. The native slaves were more than enthusiastic about embracing it. It gave them power, Mr. Knight, if only in the form of a communal bond. Among the first meeting places were the Bayou of St. John and the shore of Lake Pontchartrain. The early voodoos were heavy snake worshippers, worshipping the one they called the Great Zombie.
Tell me more about the historical.
By 1817, the voodoo activities were beginning to cause fear among the white slave owners. An ordinance was passed to forbid slave gatherings except in designated public areas at designated times. The time was Sunday afternoons and the place, Congo Square. The slaves and free people of color gathered to dance simulations of their voodoo dances right in sight of Creole society. Of course, they also continued to meet in private for the real thing.
Tell me more about the historical.
There were a variety of kings and queens at first, voodoo priests and priestesses, but from about 1830 a single power emerged. This was a voodoo queen named Marie Laveau. Marie Laveau ruled voodoo in New Orleans for many years.
Tell me more.
I've given you as much detail as I can, Mr. Knight. Look around the museum if you desire more information.
Tell me about current.
Many people think of voodoo in terms of magic spells or dreaming. That kind of practice is actually called voodoo, and is only a part of true voodoo. Voodoo, the religion, has a strong following in New Orleans. In fact, it is growing quite rapidly. There are several voodoo churches or temples in the city, and others all across the United States. African Americans see it as a tradition all their own. Whites, and they are many in the religion, are attracted to it because they think it is something. I, personally, am more interested in the history of voodoo. Some of the new movements are copying Haitian or even African voodoo. But it is the voodoo of New Orleans that I find so intriguing.
Tell me more about.
There are many voodooians in New Orleans. They often do business selling greenery, telling fortunes, providing luck, and occasionally misfortune. Perhaps you would like to meet a voodooian. We refer those who seek a deeper experience with voodoo to a local practitioner. My judge shop.
Sure.
lives on the corner of Orleans and Dauphine. I will call her and tell her you might stop by.
Great. Thanks. Tell me more.
You have tapped my resources. My expertise is really historical. Perhaps Miss Moonbeam can be of further help.
What exactly is hoodoo?
Hoodoo refers to magic folk traditions of the South. Hoodoo is a bastard of voodoo. Many of the creed are similar, but hoodoo does not have the religious aspects of voodoo.
Is there anything else I should know about hoodoo?
Not if your interest is primarily in voodoo. Hoodoo is of interest to those who study rural folk traditions, but it will not aid you in understanding true voodoo.
Do you have any idea what kept things so dull?
I fear my French is not all it should be.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
It is one of the important ceremonial nights in voodoo.
What else can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
I am afraid I do not know the origins of St. John's Eve. I only know that it was a night of ritual long before voodoo came to New Orleans.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
There were actually two Marie Laveaus, mother and daughter. Most people thought they were the same woman. Her continued youth added to the list. The original, the mother, was also known as Widow Paris. It was she that began the empire. When the Widow Paris began to practice, there were many voodooans in the city. By 1830, she was voodoo queen of all New Orleans.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
The Widow Paris was a hairdresser for rich Creole ladies. She also paid household servants to spy for her. Between the two, she knew everything about everyone who mattered in New Orleans. She was not above using her information to appear psychic, to intimidate, or even to blackmail.
You sound as though you admire her.
For a black woman in the mid-1800s to gain power is an incredible team, Mr. Knight. However, she achieved it.
Tell me more.
She kept a dead snake, danced with it. She held traditional voodoo ceremonies out by the lake. She took herself seriously, very seriously. But she was not above selling tickets